All right. Good morning, Pam McGee with GOSHRM at Evolution
Mm.
2025 Arts Conference. I'm here with our MC, Ricky
Hello, hello,
Baez. There we
hello.
go. He had to put it on his shirt because he would forget otherwise.
I really would forget,
All
and I
right.
have to look in the mirror. I'm the guy working this. I
That's right.
gotta,
All
yeah,
right. Right. So Ricky has his own company,
that's right.
Bias Code Learning.
hmm
And Ricky, tell us about your experience, what you're seeing so far, and what do you think our attendees need to take away from today?
Let me tell you, it's a conference these days when it comes to human resources. It's so necessary because there's a lot of AI stuff out there that may or may not
Just
be
a
legit. Just
yeah,
a
just a
little
little
bit,
bit.
right? And I really like the idea of professionals who are experts in their field that are get to come in and have conversations, sharing ideas, sharing feedback, and just it's having these necessary conversations on what the future of talent is going to look like, what the future of people are going to look like. Because what got us to where we are today from an HR perspective is not going to get us to the next 5 years because things have changed. The earlier session today where the panelists were talking about the power of AI and how people are afraid of AI and how you should not be afraid of it because that's just a tool like anything else. So what I'm hoping people take away today is in a world where there's so much turmoil and so much incivility that they walk away with the tools necessary to kind of cut through all the grass and make sure that we are doing what's right for the people that work for these organizations.
Yeah, and bringing the right people in to the table that can help us grow and understand more.
Mm.
We talked about with some of the speakers today that AI is right there in front of you. As soon as you
Mm.
open a Word document, Copilot is showing for you. I mean, it's not like you have an option. I mean, you can make that adjustment, but it's easy to try, and experiment on your own to see what
Mm.
it can do for you, and
Oh my
don't be
God.
afraid of it.
And it's been around for a while. People think AI just came
Yeah,
about
we've
like two
been
years
talking about
ago.
that. Yeah, no, it's
It,
been around.
well, especially with what you said, if you open up a Microsoft Word document, now Copilot is there. Remember back in the like 20 years ago, Clippy?
No,
Remember Clippy?
yeah, yeah. Oh,
the,
stop! You're aging us, man. What's
it's
up?
I'm a millennial. I don't know what she's talking about, right? So yeah, Clippy would come out and say, "Are you writing a business letter?" And I'm like, "Mind your business." Trying to write a
That's right.
resignation letter on my
Well,
work
when we talk
computer.
about movies too, we talked about this earlier. The Matrix,
Mm,
that was AI.
my God,
RoboCop,
that is true.
The Terminator.
Okay, what do I always say? The way everything is going right now, the Terminator, the movie, is looking more and more like a documentary. We need to be careful
Yeah, you're right.
because we're training. Because yes, look, the more you train, the more you deal with AI, the more you work with AI, the more you train it on how to work with you.
Right.
So if it's evolved in the past 24 months, I can't even imagine what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, now we got robots that can do things for you. So
But
we're
I
getting
think one
there.
of the key things we've got to remember, though, we've got these robots, we've got AI, but it still takes a person to
That's
get
true.
it started. So don't
That's
be
true.
afraid that you're going to lose your job.
Mm.
Somebody still has to lead it.
Well, let's
And
talk about that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
no, no, no.
No,
Well, that's
let's talk about it because a lot of people, everybody I talk to, they're saying they're afraid of AI because it will take jobs. It will take my job. What I say to that is, it might,
yeah,
but it's okay because as these jobs are being taken by AI, new jobs are being created. 20 years ago, you've never heard of a social media strategist.
what
10 years ago, you didn't know of an AI engineer, right? And those are all positions that have been created out of
evolve?
they've evolved from the current nature.
Right.
So yes, jobs are being taken. I mean, think about it. 100 years ago, I'm thinking it's 100 years ago. Yeah, 100 years ago,
You
elevators
mean
would
you
run.
weren't there?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay, okay. I'm just checking.
I
Okay,
saw it on
okay.
YouTube. On YouTube. 100 years ago, right? There used to be a person who would push a button for the elevator, right?
Right.
When
Yeah.
that evolved, where was the outrage for that? Right? I'm sure they were. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was. But I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, it's don't be afraid of it. Everybody has a phone in their pocket that has YouTube, and if you go in there and you Google or you YouTube how to use AI for work, you're going to see a plethora of content that will help you in doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody's walking around with an entire educational program in their
And
pockets
have been doing it for a
for a
while.
while now. I
Whether
know.
you're using iPhone or Android.
Now, For Mrs. Anderson, my fourth grade teacher back in the Bronx, who told me I'm never going to have a calculator in my pocket. I wonder where you are right now, Mrs. Anderson.
All right. All right. All right. And he's still doing so on his fourth grade math, Mrs. Anderson. So
I'm in HR, am I not?
You're
Because
right.
I'm not good at numbers. I'm good at words, not numbers.
All right. Thank you so much, Ricky,
Thank
for
you.
being here,
Appreciate
for
it.
emceeing for us. This is, this is 2 years in a row.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it? It feels like it's been 8. I don't know why. I don't know why you're doing that. Like I'm up to sweating. It's like he looks like he's having a good time.
All right, good morning. Pam McGee here, Greater Orlando SHRM at the Evolution 25 conference. I have our next speaker here, Cassandra Smith. Cassandra's topic is resilient leadership, how to lead with awareness and emotional intelligence. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for being here and talking to us today. What do you think so far of the conference?
It's exciting. We started with a discussion on the future and looking at AI and how to integrate that the right way with the right tools and the right boundaries, but also not to be afraid of it. Like,
all right.
Where's that line?
Uh-huh.
And then how to move forward without that fear, but increasing that productivity that we're all looking for. So I thought that was great.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So let me jump in with these questions. So in what actionable strategy or lesson from your session that HR professionals can implement immediately once they get back to their organization?
Sure. One of my favorite topics to talk about is learning to point. So I think a lot of times we feel this burden that we have to fix it. Like if someone comes to us with an issue, it's like, well, do I find the solution? But when it comes to like mental health or wellness or resiliency, we don't know. We're not always the fixers, right?
Right.
Like, we're here to be the support, offer that care, that safe space.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a professional licensed counselor, right?
Right.
Not a lot of us are. So can we learn how to point? Sitting with someone, but pointing in the right direction, knowing what the resources are ourselves, but not feeling like we are the one to fix it. Sitting with someone while they learn how to fix it.
Okay.
Just giving them that support, knowing where to point to. It's one of the best things you can do so that your people feel supported.
Yeah.
But also right boundaries.
But I think what's so great about that is not being afraid to point and thinking that you have to take charge.
Right.
I talk about the mental health space that we're like first responders in the HR side of it, but first responders, we do the initial bandaging, but
surgeon.
There you go. You got to lead us somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you need that first person.
Yeah.
You need to know that I can walk into your office and go, I have like blood everywhere, right? Like, what do you do? And nobody wants to just be given a Band-Aid that doesn't work. You need that support in the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be a heart surgeon.
There you go. Because there's somebody else that has the expertise that can do that and take over for us.
Correct.
All right. So how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years? And what should an attendee do to start doing now to stay ahead of the curve?
Sure. I think no matter what, mental health and resiliency is kind of just going to stay with us. We've all been through a rough couple of years. I think as we're navigating virtual and remote, and how does it look like to build our cultures in all these different spaces, mental health and good solid leadership strategies is just going to be part of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just us as leaders, as managers who care, staying connected, knowing what's available. If we're pointing to somewhere, who are those people? And so locally in Orlando, what are the resources? Do I know what they are? Do I know about NAMI and all the different individuals so that I can be that bridge?
Yeah.
I would say the best thing we can do for the next 2 to 3 years is just get to know the support solutions, get to know those surgeons, right?
Right.
So that we know how to point towards something healthier. So that'd be my recommendation. Just get to know what's in your area.
Right. And what's so great about a lot of these organizations are free, or they provide some great services that anyone, can join, and you can connect them to your medical packages and benefits as well. But just don't be afraid.
And it's okay to tell someone that they have to do the research.
Yeah.
Right? But then come tell me tomorrow or the next day, what did you find?
Right.
So again, I'm not the hero.
You're empowering them, but also supporting
them. Come back
them.
and let's talk about it. One of my favorite ones to talk about is findhelp.org.
Okay.
If you go to findhelp.org, you can type in your zip code, and it'll give you a list. Do you need a food bank? Do you need Now, all these different community service programs, do
Fantastic.
you need a licensed counselor? I mean, it lists everything. So even if I'm speaking somewhere in another part of the country, I know with one website and one zip code, I can get someone started on that
That is
journey.
fabulous. I had never heard of
It's
that.
lovely.
Findhelp.org.
I'm almost positive.
Okay.
It used to be called Aunt Bertha.
Okay.
I don't know why. They just
Okay.
changed it. I'm pretty sure it's findhelp.org.
All
my
right.
favorite.
Thank you so much, Cass.
Absolutely.
I hope to have a fantastic opportunity to hear what the
Yeah.
attendees take back from your session.
Sounds good. Thanks
All
so much
right.
for having me out.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
Good afternoon, Pam McGee with Greater Orlando SHRM at Evolution 2025, our conference. Have another fantastic speaker I want to talk to today. This is Dr. Pam Denton. You know she's good because her name is Pam.
Right.
All right. So what she talked about today was regulate to de-escalate AI and HI equal engagement and cultural transformation. Thank you so much. That was a mouthful,
Yes,
but
it
thank
sure
you so
is.
much for being here. Tell us about
Thank
your
you.
experience so far.
It was wonderful. I felt that everyone had an incredible experience in the room, and I've met some just great people. People are really open to cultural transformation and change in the workplace, so that's been great.
Fantastic. So let's roll into these questions. So the first one I got is, what is one actionable strategy or lesson from your session that you want HR professionals to take immediately into the workplace and try to evaluate and implement?
We talked about regulation, nervous system regulation, and I took the group through the 5 personalities of stress, which is our sympathetic fight or flight system. So recognizing those personalities and just backing off and pausing and saying, whether you see it in yourself or you see it in the organization or someone that you're working with, that you can say, oh, that's the fight personality, that's the flight, this person's stressed. Can we just take a pause and breathe together?
All right, fantastic. That's awesome. You know, and that's one of the things I think as HR professionals, we need to see that we're like the first responders.
Yes.
And be able to give guidance and support to our leaders.
Yes.
So that they can help their employees in the workplace. Fantastic. How do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years?
Oh my gosh.
And then, you know, how should attendees start doing things to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, that's a big one. I believe that cultural transformation is possible, and I feel like AI has given us this opportunity to be our higher consciousness. And so what I talk to them about is this process of how we take everyone's thoughts, feelings, perceptions, beliefs, and we can run it through AI and create targeted solutions for problems that we see in the workplace.
Okay.
So it's not like we say, okay, AI knows everything, but we have this system in my business that we use where we run an assessment as a collective rather than individual personalities. Like, this person has a red personality, so you have to deal with this person this way. We run it as, what are the barriers to the personalities coming together, and how can we work in greater connection? And we use AI to sort through that information so that we can come up with customized, targeted solutions. So
All right.
I left them with the feeling of hope, I think,
Okay.
that cultural transformation, some of the toxic workplaces are possible to transform.
Well, I think the key there, one of the things you said, customization. That means it's not one thing fits everyone.
That's right.
You have to make the adjustments per person, and that, I would believe, would gives more engagement, and people want to help. I mean, get more involved and make the change and the transformation as needed when needed.
Yes, yes. It's the cookie cutter solutions don't work as well anymore. We are too complex as human beings, and social media, the internet, all the sensory neuro input that we have coming at us every day has us in a state of overwhelm. So what I also told the group is, stop, take a moment, and then ask AI for a solution, and then run it through your own self, because in that pause of asking AI, you're regulating. You're saying, okay, I don't know the answer right now, and maybe AI doesn't know it either.
Okay.
However, I can back up for a second, again, take a breath, and allow a strategy to be reflected at me and then decide if it's right.
And then make an adjustment.
Right, make an
based
adjustment, yeah.
And transform
Yep.
that adjustment based on what's best for you.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you so much for sitting with us and presenting today. I'm sure it was a fantastic presentation for our attendees.
It was great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Pam McGee here with Greater Orlando SHRM at the Evolution 25 conference. So today, another great speaker. I've got Seychelle Hercules Pageant. She spoke today about smart HR leveraging AI to enhance workforce efficiency and growth.
Yes.
Welcome, Seychelle.
Thank you, Pam. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm just grateful to be here in the room at the Evolution 2025 conference, Redefining HR, Embracing Change and Empowering
If you
people.
couldn't tell, she's our social media director here at GOSHRM as well. Fantastic. All right, Seychelle,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
All right, come on. Are we ready?
Let's go.
Now let's do this. So what is the one actionable strategy or lesson from your session you want HR professionals to immediately implement in the workplace, taking it from here?
Absolutely. I think the most actionable thing is going to be data-driven storytelling. I say that because HR is shifting from the administrative side of things to a more strategic business operations focused side. We want a seat at that table. We deserve a seat at the table, and organizations can benefit so greatly from listening to HR about things for workforce planning, innovation, and ways to just enhance the employee experience overall. And so one way HR professionals can really tap into that is through data-driven storytelling. And so they can convince their C-suite executives and leaders to invest in that department.
Right. And I think that one of the really powerful things you said is about the data-driven
Yes.
side. We've changed over the years. The HR side of it is of being more than just an administrator,
Absolutely.
but also, just like regular business, they look at the data to determine if they're doing well, the operation side. So HR needs to evolve with the business as well.
Yes.
If we want to be a strategic partner and be able to sit at the table, we need to be able to talk their talk.
Exactly.
All right. So next, how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years? And then what should attendees start doing now to stay ahead of that curve?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer the last question first.
All right.
I believe attending conferences like Evolution 2025 with GOSHRM
In
and
Orlando, Georgia.
Florida.
I'm trying to stay out of the Sunshine State, but go ahead.
Yeah, so attending Evolution 2025 and annual conferences like the ones that Greater Orlando SHRM, GOSHRM here in Orlando SHRM, here in Orlando, Florida, put on are very important because we are assisting you and giving you the tools, connecting you with the industry leaders who are forecasting the future of work. And so as an HR professional, it's very important to stay ahead of the curve and to participate in development activities like this annual conference that GOSHRM puts on so they can, so we can, I'm having a blank moment, but so we can stay ahead of the curve. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So we can stay ahead of the curve. And then I just see the evolution of HR continuing to evolve to integrate AI in a way that really just makes our jobs smarter, but not harder. Because HR is hard enough a job as it is. Okay. And so being able to just leverage strategic insights to connect them to the business operations and really do the data-driven storytelling to drive business initiatives forward is just really going to help with HR having a seat at the table. And one thing I love is that when HR really evolves into that key strategic partner, that's what perfectly positions us to take on executive leadership positions past the CHRO. I'm talking the CEO.
There you go.
I mean, the HR professional touches so many different areas of the organization that they are perfectly positioning themselves to take on the mantle of CEO.
And I think a lot of that is opening yourself up as an HR professional to
Mhm.
learn that you need to understand the data, where it's coming from. And if you don't, find a source that's going to help you, support you, get that information so you
Absolutely.
can secure that seat at the table.
Yes.
Just like the operation size, of the business does on a consistent basis.
Mhm.
Thank you, Seychelle. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
input, and
My
have a
pleasure.
fantastic rest of your conference.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Pam McGee with Greater Orlando SHRM here at Evolution 2025, speaking with our next speaker, Tanya Gomez Rayfart. All right. So Tanya spoke today, and her topic was the modern HR mandate, equipping HR leaders for tomorrow's VUCA. And I know she's going to explain that to us. All right.
Challenges.
All right. All right. So fantastic. How has your experience been so far?
It's been great. It's been great. The turnout as well is very well organized. I love the communication prior. So it kept us as speakers on track, but it really set the expectation that we were going to show up for each other. So I've had a fantastic time.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm going to ask you some questions and we'll get into this. So what is the one actionable strategy or lesson from your session that HR professionals can implement immediately when they go back to impact their organizations?
Wow. It's a mouthful.
It is.
It's a mouthful. So
I had to say it for a couple of times. So I understand.
So I think for me, right, and I said it a number of times during my session, that HR functions need to look at their processes, their procedures, their programs, and their practices.
Okay.
And if it's not driving measurable improvements in operations and financials, HR functions and leaders and team members need to really ask, what is the value proposition in what it is that we're doing? If it does not improve measurable results in financials and operations, then we need to really think about, are we strategically helping our organizations move forward, or are we still being considered administrative?
Okay.
We have to put on a hat of thinking about the business. So it was even, I said it, we talked about it, and then I went back to quiz, that what is it that we need to do? And for me, that is the true HR mandate.
Well, I think one of the key things that you mentioned is business acumen. As HR leaders, we need to be engaged and understand that data does make a difference. The old days, I'm about to age myself. They called us personnel. And that's all we did was the administrative side. But if we want to be taken seriously as a strategic leader and be at the table, we do need to see how we can help and give to the business.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
next, how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years? And then, what should our attendees do to be prepared as we go into that?
Yeah, that's another great question. And so just external pressures that we're dealing with right now in the environment. And I did a little public service announcement for SHRM.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring that together with, we've had a number of executive orders that the president has signed, and we know as HR professionals that every 4 years or every 8 years, there potentially will be some employment laws impact. But this is a little bit different, right? And one of the things SHRM has done for the HR community to help us navigate this VUCA, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in what's happening. Is to bring in experts to help us as HR professionals to navigate that. So I think that the topic is most timing for what we're dealing with in workplaces and externally, but as we lead our teams and our organization to really connect and partner with SHRM National to really get the tools that we need to help navigate this. So for me, when I think about the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, we really need to understand how we operate in a VUCA workplace. And one other thing is that I shared with my participants today that we also need to have leaders turn VUCA around. And VUCA leads to volatility leads to vision, uncertainty leads to understanding, complexity leads to clarity, and ambiguity leads to agility.
Okay.
Leaders of the future will need to have vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. And as HR professionals, we need to be leading that charge.
And being courageous leaders. That's kind of what a lot of what I hear. You got to be a courageous leader to move forward and understand you need to ask for help and get that support, not only for yourself, but for your organization. Yeah.
Yes, and we do have a SHRM national that is providing that as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. So get connected if you're not connected.
And Joan GOSHRM. We are definitely connected with National. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having
Fantastic.
me.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
All right. Good afternoon, Pam McGee with GOSHRM at Evolution 2025. I'm here with our next speaker, which is Tom Dyer. Tom spoke today about maximizing employee engagement and improve retention through a digital and one-stop shop. So Tom, welcome. What has your experience been so far, like today so far?
I think it's been very good. We had some good questions, and some people were engaged. My hope was that the people themselves would be engaged and ask questions, and wouldn't just me be standing up there and talking and,
All right.
and hearing what I had to say. So I think we had good experience. I think the people were interested. And so I think the people are interested in retaining their employees and getting their employees engaged. It's my belief that in order to get any of this done, you have to get them engaged.
Oh, awesome. And I think that goes into one of the first question I'm going to ask you about is, what is the one actionable strategy or lesson from your session that you think HR professionals should take back, immediately evaluate and do in the workplace to make it impactful?
I think they need to use some type of method. Of course, we have a method, but some type of method where they get the employee more engaged. They're paying for the benefits.
Okay.
But so if you're paying for them, you need to get your employees to use them because you got to pay for them whether they use them or not. So I think one of the things is communications. I think communications is very important, not only with the employer, but with the employees with themselves.
All right, fantastic, definitely. So the next question is, how do you see the topic you presented over the next 2 to 3 years being used for our attendees to be able to carve out the next level, and be prepared for AI or any other topic in the workplace?
Stay current.
Okay.
It has to stay current. We try to, in the product that I'm involved with, we try to stay current. If they want to change something, we change it. But the main thing you need to do is just remember, this is a people business, and you need to get people involved, and where people care, know that you care, and I think it's contagious.
All right. Now you mentioned your product. Tell us a little bit about your project. What is it called, and how does it work?
It's called Green Circle Life. It's an app. It keeps all your medical and all your HR benefits. And we have health coaching also. We have digital health coaching and in-person health coaching. But you can also go look at your 401k. You look at your, some other, your paycheck or something like that,
Okay.
which is what most people look at, is their
Yeah.
paycheck and things like that. But I think that the other thing that happens is that we have one-stop shop, and I think that was one of the things that the people in the audience were interested in. Me, I don't have to go to 6 different apps. No, you can go to our app, and then it'll carry you. Then you don't have to put a new password in to get to
Each of the different portals.
different portals, and that seemed to be they seem very interested in that. The other thing that I think got their interest is the fact, in addition to the employee, we offer this up to 4 family members.
Okay.
Which means the spouse can be, or the mother or the mother-in-law or a child can also have the app. And a lot of the expense that the employer, if he covers family members, a lot of the expense they have are spouses and children and things. So the ROI has been pretty phenomenal.
Especially when you think about you have, if you can keep your children on until the age of 26, especially if they're going to
Right,
college and so
right.
on, you know, that helps them to stay on top of what's going on for themselves, you know, as well as their family members. That's fantastic.
Well, we don't care if they're over 26.
Yeah, okay.
Because we cover them whether they're insured
Okay.
or not.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
speaking with us today.
Thank you for having us. We enjoyed being here.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm here again, Pam McGee, Greater Orlando SHRM at the Evolution 25. Have our next speaker, Amber Vandenberg. Amber's going to be talking about leveraging AI for strategic HR transformation. Thank you so much for being here today, Amber.
Thank you for having me. This is a joy to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm going to dive into it, ask you a couple questions. So what is one actionable strategy or lesson from your session that HR professionals can implement immediately to evaluate their impact in their organization?
Absolutely. The takeaway from my session is whenever we talk about AI transformation, you have to talk about upskilling and bringing up the entire level, the baseline of AI understanding throughout the organization. Teaching one or two people will have some impact, but if we want to see true transformation, that means raising the initial baseline of AI comfort and AI competency within your organization. It doesn't have to be super high, a little bit higher than what we have it now.
Man, that makes so much sense. You know, a lot of times in the past, we only train a certain level within the organization, and then we can't figure out why it's not transitioning down.
Why is this not working?
Right.
And it's not just your DevOps team or your IT team. You know, it's if we want AI transformation throughout the organization, it has to be we have to have upskilling throughout the organization.
Absolutely.
I think about with digital transformation several
Back in the
decades
day.
ago, we had typing classes. We had to learn very basic skills of how to use the computer, how we're using
How
the
to put your
software,
hands on there.
how to how to
Yeah.
use that, right? So there's simple skills that we had to learn. I mean, I had to take computer classes back in school to learn how to do this. Now now we have more of that in our digital transformation. We have to go through that same journey now with AI. And
Right.
what an amazing opportunity that is.
Fantastic. And I think the other important thing, like you said, is all levels. So even our executive suite, they need to know and understand because, you know, we need their commitment to provide the support, financial support, so these things can happen and flow down. Fantastic. Awesome. So my next question, how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years? And what should attendees be sharing to take away and to be ahead of the curve?
You know, for this topic, I could think it could be how is it going to change in the next 2 to 3 weeks? It's changing and evolving so quickly. For attendees, the biggest thing is to use it. Use AI in any capacity that you can. And whenever we use it in my company, there are times we go, you know, the AI is not sophisticated enough yet for this area. You know, we have concerns about how we're going to use it here. Okay, that's fine. We've tried, we've experimented in certain places, and now we can stand in confidence of this is how we can use AI with confidence, with competency in these areas. These areas, we're still waiting on some more sophistication. We may need more training, right? In these areas, maybe not yet, right? Or this is maybe a non-AI sector.
And
So
I think along
we have to
with what
experiment
you're
with
saying
that.
is so fantastic because the reality is so easy to try. Copilot is part of Microsoft now. Who's not using Microsoft? And me and ChatGPT are like this.
But,
I'm
hey,
loving
we're
it.
working together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're always gonna, so the best way that we can upskill ourselves is to try, put it in action. Yes, you can listen to podcasts and read, but put it in action. That's gonna be your biggest form of learning.
Right. You know, and if you take it so basics, it's just like when you first learn to drive. You're scared, you're nervous, you know, not sure what to expect, you know, how do you use the turn signals? But once you get in there, you take it slow, take it for a test drive, and then now we got you speeding on I-4, right?
Exactly. You're doing that with confidence.
Right,
You know where you're
you
going.
know,
Exactly.
and how to maneuver. So it's the same thing with anything new thing. Fantastic. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Amber, for being here, and we appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Excited.
Good morning. I'm here at Evolution with our next speaker, Sierra Parks. Sierra is going to be talking about human intelligence versus artificial intelligence, the skills AI can't replace. Good morning, Sierra. How you doing?
I'm great, Pam.
I'm
Glad
so
to be
happy
here.
that you're able to participate in this podcast. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Give us your feedback on it. What is one of the actionable strategies or lessons from your session that HR professionals can implement and immediately evaluate the impact within their organization?
Absolutely. So coming out of my session, what I'm hoping people walk away with is the action to go out and really start to focus on their own professional development. AI is coming, right? AI is very much so here. And if you haven't considered what it is that you need to be doing to sharpen your own skills, your soft skills, it will start to buffer up on your career.
Right. And I think one of the key things you talk about is soft skills. At times, with everything that's happened with COVID, we've lost that a little bit. Now we need to realize how important it is in the workforce. So that is fantastic. So one of the other things is, how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 or 3 years? And what should attendees do, to stay ahead of the game?
Don't run from AI. AI is genuinely going to take over so much of what's happening in the workplace. And that'll be things like the tools you're using, that'll be how you're interacting with folks around the world, globalization. All of those things are going to be on the backs of AI. And so if you are not on the front side of it, you are definitely going to get rolled over by it. So don't be afraid, don't run from it, but it is expanding rapidly. Every day there's a new tool coming out, and if you're not familiarizing yourself with at least some of them and how you do your job, it's going to be a real barrier.
Yeah. Well, what's so relevant is that so many people, like you said, run away from it, but AI has really been around for so long. If we think about the Matrix movie, remember all of that? RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop. Ooh.
What? I'm about to show my age right here.
If
RoboCop.
you know, you know.
Yes. And then, iRobot with Will Smith. All
Right.
that was AI.
Yep.
So, we've been in it, just didn't realize what it was, but now hopefully this conference is going to help people understand and be able to take it to the next level. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Thanks,
You're
GOSHRM.
welcome. Bye. All right. Good afternoon, Pam McGee. I'm here at Evolution 2025 for GOSHRM. I want to talk to you about our new next speaker. Sorry. Just had lunch, so a little out of it. Deloria Street. She spoke today on Wellness at Work, the power of rest, resilience, and resistance. So thank you for being here today. Tell me a little bit what your experience has been like so far.
Oh, it's been great.
Okay.
The conference is good. Everybody's engaged. Lots of good information. So I'm excited. I was happy to be here and happy to share during my session.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's jump into it. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
What is one of the actionable strategies or lessons from your session that HR professionals can implement immediately when they go back to their organization?
Sure, there's several, but let me think of one for sure. One is kind of an assessment, whether it's a personal assessment of where are you kind of on the stress range, right? How are you doing, and what things you can do to get rest, right? And my definition of rest is reclaiming energy, self-confidence, and time.
Okay.
We all only get 24 hours in a day. But if you start saying no to things that no longer serve you, antiquated, outdated, you don't enjoy, it gives you room to be more intentional and say yes to the things that bring you joy, yes to the things that you enjoy doing, yes to the things that are your strengths. So it's really learning to say no without guilt and prioritizing your time.
Yeah, I think that's key, is the no without guilt. Family and even business, you want to do the right thing. You don't want to look bad in front of your boss, but it also takes you to the next level of stress, like you said, and mental health concerns.
Absolutely. I asked the question, how many of you are, when your leaders or bosses give you additional work and you're already overwhelmed, push back and say, can we reprioritize, or you just say yes? The majority of people say, I just do it.
Yeah.
And I said, when you do that, you make it seem as though it's easy to do. The leaders don't know if you don't tell them. And then later, when you're really overwhelmed and you say you need help, nobody's going to believe you.
Right.
So resistance is a tool to help people realize this no longer serves me, and maybe I need to look at the amount of resources, the amount of work. But if you keep doing it, people will let you keep doing it, And really, you own it because you haven't said it's too much, or
Right.
if I can do that, then can you outsource this or give this to somebody else? So
And a lot of it too sounds like is building that relationship with your
Absolutely.
employer, with your supervisor, because that's your first line.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you build that relationship, then you can tell them, hey, you know, I'm full. I've had enough.
absolutely, you
and,
got to
you know,
build
and
authentic culture and engagement solutions.
There you
It starts
go.
with authenticity. If you don't have an authentic relationship, then it's not much going to be done really well.
Yeah.
You got to have that relationship, and leaders have to get to know their employees more than just somebody who gets the work done.
Right.
The whole employee.
it's more than just having that butt in the
Absolutely.
seat, you know, that
Absolutely.
engagement. You know, one of the things when, as a leader, I've been in the field, I identified is that the way I treated them, they put more pressure on themselves than I ever could because they knew I supported them in whatever the case may be.
You get more,
it makes a difference.
You get more work with somebody that appreciates and responds to you. You know, you'll go to the wall for
And
it.
it's amazing how a please, thank you,
Hello.
and I appreciate you is cheap and goes a long way.
Absolutely. It
All
helps a
right,
whole lot.
yeah. So next, how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years, and what should attendees do by being ahead of that curve?
Yeah, I think it's already starting to evolve. So if you think about rest, resilience, and resistance, since the pandemic, companies started realizing we got to do more things with wellness. I'll give you an example. I do a lot of work with the American Nurses Association. So there's a young lady by the name of Dr. Shonda Bauckham. She has a mental health practice in Claremont. And so we did a session called Mental Wellness, the Hidden Dimension of Diversity. You know, thinking it's going to be okay. We had like 60 attendees, rave reviews. We did another one. It was so many people, we had an encore performance.
Okay.
The employees were so transparent, talking about diagnoses, illnesses. It was just, you could tell they needed it. So based on that, the wellness committee decided that they needed a series.
Okay.
So now I have a mental wellness series that Dr. Trishonda leads, because I get stressed, but I'm not a professional, so I know how to stay in my
Right,
lane.
stay in your lane, yeah.
But it's amazing. She talks about adult ADHD, just lots of things, and that's where we're going. So the smart companies need to prioritize wellness. I say that rest is not a luxury, it's a strategy. And I mean that because if you're not rested, you're not going to be innovative, your productivity is not going to be good, your absenteeism will be up. I discovered in doing the research, 300 billion with the B dollars are lost by US companies because of stress and burnout. That's more than the GDP of Portugal, Chile. I mean, but I think we know it conceptually, but we're finally starting to act on it.
Probably at times just overlook it because it's easier to overlook, but you don't think about what employees in the parking lot stressed out before they even walk through the door.
They sit in the car
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes to try to get themselves together.
We just said do
to
that
go to work.
USA moment,
Yeah.
rub my ears and try to
kind of breathe and all of
yeah.
that. And we got to stop that. And so I know you said, what do people need to do to start staying ahead of the curve? Talk about it, right?
Okay.
Like I said, cultures don't build people, people build cultures. So if you're prioritizing rest, resilience, and resistance, you can start talking about it at work.
Okay.
Resisting things that no longer serve you, that don't make sense but stress you the heck out, right? And start implementing things that relieve that stress in others, and start talking about it with each other so you can build a culture of wellness.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us
Sure.
today, and hope you have a great time the rest of the
I've
conference.
had a great time. I already got feedback
All right.
on LinkedIn saying that my session was impactful. So
Oh, hey, there you
it's
go.
all good.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, nice meeting you.
Good afternoon, Pam McGee with Greater Orlando SHRM, again at Evolution Conference, fantastic conference, talking to our speakers. Now I am so honored to bring before you Dr. Kathleen Daniel, President-elect of GOSHRM, and also one of our fantastic speakers today. So her topic today was who bears the responsibility, exploring accountability and liability in an AI-driven HR decisions. Kathleen, fantastic to have you here. Tell us about the experience so far.
Oh my gosh, the conference is amazing. And I'm listening to conversations all throughout the conference area, throughout the expo hall, in the rooms, and people are so engaged and so excited about this topic. It's amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's jump into these questions. All right. So what is one actionable strategy or lesson from your session that HR professionals can implement when they get back to their organization?
You know, I think what I discovered as I was preparing for this topic, and the one thing that I hope was a key takeaway from anyone in the room, is just leaning into that human element that must stay in our AI technical world, right? While AI might help us to do things more efficiently, faster, it might broaden our net, if you will. There still has to be a human in the loop, right?
Okay.
So there has to be oversight. And if you think about that ahead of time, the same as we have in human resources for a number of topics, if you define it ahead of time, you're checking your systems and you're auditing yourself and documenting that, you're probably going to be okay. It's when we're not checking our systems that we run into problems.
Right, and people take advantage of, if Big Brother's not watching at times, take advantage of what's not told them to them specifically,
Exactly.
and do their own little tweaks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So next, how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years, and what should attendees do about staying ahead of that curve?
Oh, well, how I hope it involves is that we remember that AI itself does not have intent, but it does have impact. And we have to, as I said before, we have to audit our systems. We have to be looking at them. And we need to communicate with one another. When we see an issue, we need to share it, and we all have a responsibility in making sure that it works right. So it's not just the HR director, it's not just the IT folks, it's not just the designers, the AI tech people that are designing the programs. We all have a responsibility to share information and collaborate to get it right, so that we're using AI for good, as a force for good, and not just to minimize risk or get through our day faster. We really want it to enhance our human experience, not take away from it.
And I think the key thing you said, the human experience. A lot of individuals are thinking AI, they're going to take over, we're going to lose our jobs, we're not going to be able to provide that input. But the reality is a human that has to do the input to get it started and get it going.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing for the human needs to monitor it on the accountability piece to make sure that we're using it the right way, and not abusing it in the workplace or even outside. You hear some of the stories now of teenagers being duped by AI because they're not being watched. But that's, part of that is, how do you channel that? You want that knowledge, you want them to get that experience, but, how do we still make sure the right thing is happening with them?
Right. And a lot of that is in the training. And so it's just another one of those topics that we as HR professionals, we find ourselves having to lead in, right? That happens often. We as HR professionals, we find ourselves leading in spaces we never once would have imagined leading in. And AI and HR decision making is definitely another one of those. And it comes down to training, making sure that we're training our teams to know how to use it. And most of all, making sure that we understand it too. We can't or shouldn't implement a technology that we can't explain. So if you don't know how your AI is coming to the decisions it's making, then you really shouldn't be using it. So we need to know. We have those inputs, and that's what they call the black boxes, right? So it's this black box. It just sits there, it makes decisions, we do whatever it tells us to do, and it's not a good approach. We know the inputs, we see the outputs, but we also have to understand how the AI is coming to the decisions that it's coming to. And once again, that takes human ingenuity and human involvement.
Right. And then also, like you said, HR professionals, being courageous to move forward, to learn and understand how AI works, because we need to explain it to the C-suite to make sure that we're putting the right things in place to make this happen positively for our employees.
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank
Well,
you so much.
C-suite is, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say,
Go ahead.
C-suite is entirely focused on the ROI. So if you want to get that ROI over the finish line, if you're a 1 or 2 person HR office and you're looking at HI as a solution to your heavy workload, I say that's fantastic. Learn everything you can about it. And then that way you'll be able to explain it to your C-suite so they also see the return on investment. But Don't implement anything you don't understand.
Right, because then the outcome of it, you can't explain,
it.
Yeah, or why it does what it does.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Kathleen.
Thank you.
This is our next president, in 2027.
Yes.
2027.
Yep,
Fantastic.
yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Pam.
Good afternoon, Pam McGee here with GOSHRM at Evolution 2025. Got some fantastic speakers. Have another one here right now. This is Eva Costello. Eva spoke about harnessing AI for effective change management. Fantastic topic. How is the conference so far for you?
The conference is going by so fast and it's so informative. I'm having a really great time.
Oh, fantastic. Great. So I'm going to ask you some questions and get your feedback. So really excited to hear about what you got to say. So what is one of the actionable strategies or lessons from your session that our HR professionals should take back and immediately evaluate to use in their organization?
We talked about a lot in an hour. I'd probably say that the middle part is probably the biggest takeaway that that the audience really resonated with, and that's around assessing organizational readiness as it relates to implementing AI. A lot of people just think, okay, we're just going to start diving in with no real rules, regulations, policies, and regrettably, some companies actually make mistakes as it requires that. If you think about the ethics, if you think about the moralities around what you're feeding an AI system and potentially what biases might come back out of that system, it's really important to be able to check and gauge what data you're putting into the AI and what data you're receiving back out of it, and just to check for that understanding. So we walked through a little bit of a framework around that, and I think that probably resonated with the team the most.
Right. And it sounds like you almost have to do a policy, like anything else in the area of AI, to make sure that the right things are being done.
Yeah, policy is a strong word, right? So
okay.
I'm a little hesitant to call it 100% a policy.
Guidelines?
And instead maybe a guidance,
okay.
right? Where okay, we live by our values. We already have a code of conduct.
Okay.
So really just amplify that versus like conflating it by having a different, or conflating it by having a different type of policy or a different like track. You know what I mean? So to me, it would be about making it more organic within the organization. Make it a part of your everyday work. Talk about it, explore what's working, what's not working, put some countermeasures in place if data could potentially be corrupted, and instead really just work together to refine it to make it work for your particular organization.
Right. And I think the key there is what you said, together. That way everyone's involved, everyone's engaged, and it's not coming from just one side.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So how do you see the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years?
I see it evolving over the next week.
Maybe the next minute. What's happening tomorrow?
Yeah. Fast, right? Everything is happening really, really fast. So my recommendation is find a blogger, find a podcast, find a book, find an author, find somebody who's revolutionary in this environment, and follow and learn, and don't be afraid. Leverage different types. Last night I was exploring Claude. I've been really a ChatGPT fan. I also like Copilot, but last night I spent some time with Claude and we hit it off. So
I've never even heard of Claude. That's awesome.
It's another AI tool that's generated that has free accounts. You can also have paid accounts, very similar to the other platforms that I've been leveraging recently in my life. So all I can say is just dive in, explore, read some blogs, keep in contact with the particular places, continue to refine your prompts. I can't stress that enough. Your prompts are the new skill. Okay. Those are the new skill in 2025. And I really think that that's really important. Is don't forget, you can question your AI anytime you want to. It won't be offended.
Right. I think that one of the key things I see taken away from this is their own self-development. Don't wait for someone else to give you guidance or recommendations. Try it. It's, you can't break it. Yeah. All you can do is improve and learn on it. Well, so that's fantastic.
And with every trend, I would say that there's always going to be those folks who might be a little slower to try it on. Think of the iPhone, right? Some people didn't want to give up their Nokia brick phone. That's okay. I kind of miss mine
BlackBerry,
too. Right?
Or the
BlackBerry. That's right. That was a total game changer.
I'm showing my age. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah.
But no, I feel the same way. Yeah. And honestly, I think that it's important important to recognize that some people may not be so quick to jump in, and that's okay too. Maybe they do need some more of those guidelines, as we talked about.
Well, and I think the other side, one of the things you talk about trends, but the reality, we've been in the AI era for a long time. When we look at the movies, iRobot, The Matrix, Terminator. We've been visualizing and seeing AI, but not really putting a name to it.
You're right.
Already been involved in it, but we're just talking about it now. So, people are always in fear of the unknown, what they really don't understand.
Exactly.
So, that's why I appreciate speakers like you here at our conference educating the team.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. One last little plug. Short Circuit, the 1980s. Remember, Johnny Five is alive. I can't believe that. Like, those were that was AI right there in front of us.
And we didn't even realize what it is, what it was. Just another movie with a robot.
Clippy too from Microsoft. I remember Clippy too. That was some good AI too. So it's always been here. It's just a matter of how much do we embrace it.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
here. It's staying.
All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Good morning, Pam McGee, Greater Orlando SHRM, here at Evolution again. Want to introduce our next speaker. This is our Vice President of Diversity and Talent Development with AFLAC. She was our panel moderator this morning, and Kayla Lewis. So, Kayla, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, tell me about your first impression, your impression so far of the conference, what you've seen.
Yeah, so far I love the energy. The energy is really high, and amongst the team, of course, but also amongst the members that are attending. So really congratulations on that. It's really
fantastic.
hard to do.
We've been excited, been pumping it up, for the last couple of months. So let me dive in. I want to ask you a question. So how do you see the topic that you were moderating over today, transcending over the next 2 to 3 years, and how should our attendees take this and move forward to be ahead of the curve?
Yeah, so I think it will move quickly. Technology moves quicker than perhaps humans want it to do. And so I feel like we need to be ahead of the curve. If you have an IT organization or an innovation organization, or even a frontline service level organization, those people, those employees are probably using AI to some extent and might know a little bit more than you. So you don't want to be behind the 8 ball. You want to be a little bit ahead, so that you can provide solutions as an HR partner, and provide services that will, and sometimes guidelines that will help you and help the company do the best, that perform at the best levels. I say start getting engaged with just reading about it, maybe utilizing some of the tools personally, not on your business computer maybe, but just to kind of get familiar with it, because it's probably already here if you think it's not. So,
and I think one of the things, just like you just mentioned, is already here. Actually, we think about it, it's been here.
It's been here.
We've been talking about today with some of the attendees and individuals, the movie The Matrix. That was AI.
Favorite movie of all time.
Right?
Yeah.
iRobot.
Absolutely.
Will Smith. And we just never translated and realized that's what we've been amongst that for so many years. Now we're just talking about it more. And it's more prevalent.
Absolutely. And we were talking about some examples around the small uses of AI within HR, screening tools, chat bots. I mean, we do that. I just did that with the Walmart app the other day to fix the wrong order.
Right.
And it was all done through the chat. That's AI.
And we don't even think about it that it's AI.
Right?
Yeah.
And so again, if you are kind of unsure, get informed. You might be able to use the chat GPT to get informed about it. It. But be informed at least. And it might require you to step a little bit outside of the box.
Right. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
And what's so great about this, you don't have to depend on somebody else.
That's right.
You can do this on your own.
Yeah.
Or if you have a teenager or even a sixth grader right now,
They're
They
all
can help
doing
you with
it.
it. Yeah.
In my county, the sixth graders have their own laptops.
And you're in Georgia, right?
I'm in Georgia.
Yeah.
And so, again, there's no telling. They have to be on their computers during school day, right? And also, I would say, it might actually give you a little credibility with your business, right? For you to be informed and a little bit ahead of the game with them. Sometimes we need that from an HR perspective,
right?
And it might prop you up a little bit as a partner and as a provider of solutions. So think about it from that perspective too, if you're an HR professional.
Right, especially with HR, we always talk about we want to be that strategic partner.
Absolutely.
We want to be at the table, so we
Yes.
need to bring those initiatives and advise our C-suite on how this can be better for the organization and do it in the right way. Thank you so much
You're
for
most
joining
welcome.
us
It's been
today. You know, you have a fantastic time.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Pam McGee here with Greater Orlando SHRM at Evolution 2025, here with another great speaker. I'm here with Lee Cage. His topic is technology as a connector, the HR leader's unique opportunity. So, Lee, thank you so much for being here. What are you taking away so far?
I mean, this has been an incredible experience. All of the energy, all of the excitement from folks around, but it's also a learning environment. You can tell that people are prepared to absorb information. So I've noticed it all day and I'm excited to see it continue.
You're fantastic. So I'm going to lead in here and ask you some questions. So what is one of the actionable or strategy lessons from your session that you think our HR professionals can implement immediately when they go back to their organizations?
Yeah, embracing disruption.
All right.
So one of the key things that we focused in on, while I think that there are 7 total, one of the key ones are embracing disruption. That is critical to our team, our folks, our HR professionals remaining board relevance.
Okay.
Right now, AI and technology and HRIS and HRIT, all of the things are kind of surrounding them. And the main way for them to remain board relevant is to embrace that disruption, to own that disruption, and to be at the forefront of the conversation.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key things you said is embrace and own.
Yeah.
And that helps people feel empowered and they want to stay engaged.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So the next question, how do you use the topic you presented evolving over the next 2 to 3 years, and how can our attendees stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, but it goes back to grounding. The grounding is embracing that disruption. Right now, we are seeing things move faster than they ever have. This is not just like things moving incrementally faster. It is moving and it is more transformational than it's been since the industrial time. Okay.
Yeah, and that's back in the day.
That's
right?
back in the day.
Yeah.
So right now we have companies popping up all over the place. We have technology moving faster than it's ever moved. And our folks, the critical way that they remain board relevant, the way that they continue to have a sphere of influence, the way that they protect employees and protect the interests of stakeholders is by taking these things and iterating them on and off of the playground. And I say on and off the playground because on the playground, that's at work. But in their off time, they have to be iterating and using the Connect framework that we went over today.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And we'll see you all later on the next segment.
See y'all.
Bye. Good morning, Pam McGee with Greater Orlando SHRM here at the Evolution 2025 conference. I want to talk to our next speaker, which is Neil Malik. Neil's going to be talking about revolutionizing employee experience with Microsoft 365 Copilot. Thank you so much for joining us today, Neil.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm going to jump right in, ask you some questions. So first, what is one actionable strategy or lesson from your session that HR professionals can implement immediately to elevate their impact on their organization?
Wonderful. So I think to focus this, so my topic is Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is a very specific integrated AI service in your Microsoft environment. And so I think probably the easiest possible place to start is that if you have files in SharePoint right now that have a lot of value to them, whether it's training material or it's information about the HR function, you can click on any of those materials and create an AI chatbot with one click.
Wow.
Just create a SharePoint agent, and now your employees can talk to that agent and get answers from that material. So again, if it's training material, they can get answers about how to do their job. And if it's reference material about the HR function, they can ask questions about deadlines or forms that they have to fill out, etc. And it takes one click. It's really, really easy to do.
Yeah, and then Copilot is right there for you now as soon as you open the file, which is pretty neat. I got attracted to Chat GPT, but then I had a document come up, and I said, "Well, let me use this Copilot." It's actually almost the same and a little easier than Chat GPT, which is really neat. Fantastic.
Yeah, the interesting thing there is, Microsoft, because they have this investment in OpenAI, they're really using ChatGPT's engines underneath the hood.
Okay.
So what you're getting is ChatGPT if it were injected into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, all of these different applications you use every day.
Right. What I really like about it is it allows individuals that have never used it before to kind of experiment and learn. So just try it. It's wonderful. I love it. So next, how do you see the topic you presenting evolving over the next 2 to 3 years, and what should attendees start doing now to stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, I'm sure people have heard this. I mean, AI as a general concept is advancing so fast, moment to moment, month to month, you'll see new releases, new engines. And so you've probably heard this before. You just got to practice with the stuff. You got to, I was just looking at LinkedIn just a moment ago, and somebody was saying, hey, Microsoft just announced all of these features, but these features are coming over the next 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
And so you got to keep a list of all the things that are coming and just keep looking and pushing the refresh button and going, I guess I don't have it today.
Right.
I guess I don't have that today yet. Oh, it's so interesting to see those things come to life, but at the same time, it's so frustrating to sit around and wait for this thing that you're being promised to actually be something that you can use.
And I think the other side of it is don't be afraid of it, So, it's like anything else, get on your tricycle, your bike, try for the first time. You may fall off and make some errors, but keep doing it and you'll be wonderful.
Exactly. And I would say as well, sometimes, like right now in my session, I'm about to say to people, don't make photos using Copilot because it's not very good at it. But they're announcing that in the next couple of months, they'll have this new photo engine so they can generate images, and maybe it'll be amazing in a couple of months.
Okay.
It's so impossible to hold on to that and say, oh, definitively, it either is good or is bad, So you just got to keep going back to it and practicing with it, seeing if it was you, or maybe it was the technology that failed you the first time around, and maybe it's just better now. It's an interesting thing to stay on top of.
It is fantastic. Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you for being here. And I know the experience of the attendees in your session is going to be fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right. All right. Good afternoon. Pam McGee with Greater Orlando SHRM here at the Evolution Conference. Want to speak to our next speaker, Samantha Underdahl. All right. I'm bad with names, but I'm glad I got that right. So Samantha is our speaker, and she's speaking about upskilling the future workforce, advancing soft skills development with personality science. All right now. All right. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
What is one of the actionable strategies or lessons from your session that you want HR professionals to implement when they go back into their organizations?
Yeah, great question. So my session is really about the latest research out there on personality science. And so I think most HR professionals and organizational psychologists tend to believe personality is really lasting and enduring and not something that we can easily change. And that's why we typically use it as part of our selection tools. But this latest research published over the past 10 years or so shows that with targeted interventions, you can actually help people develop aspects of their personality, which are really important for soft skills and leadership skills. So things like managing conflict more effectively, communicating with our teams, inspiring and motivating our teams, and things like that are closely related to our personality characteristics. So this latest research is really about
how can we as HR professionals think about targeted interventions to help people improve those soft skills, those behavioral habits? So we'll take away some strategies, things like behavioral intentions, goal setting, even behavior-based habit forming strategies that we can use for our employees to improve those soft skills.
Fantastic. So what about the fact that we've got almost like 4 to 5 generations with different thought processes and personalities in the workplace now? How does that work? And with this process that you're talking about?
Yeah, so it's all about habits, right? And so traditional leadership development wears off quickly. People revert to their habits. We all like to do what's comfortable for us, no matter what generation, right? So we all have good habits and bad habits. So this is really about helping everyone improve their habits so that they can have long-term improved behavior at work.
And you think, especially when you talk about long-term, helps with the retention. Within the workplace, and you don't have that turmoil and churn over and over.
Very expensive.
Very expensive, especially
aren't
now.
Happy, they leave, and you have to replace them, and that is very expensive.
The downtime, everything else, the stress. There's so many things that can happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, how do you see the topic you're going to be presenting evolving over the next 2 to 3 years, and how should attendees start? Being ahead of that.
Yeah. Well, probably like most things talked about today, AI is evolving very quickly. And so just like most other HR topics, leadership development is the same way. If you can look at the tools out there to help you provide personalized leadership development using data, using assessments, so that people can not just have like a one-size-fits-all seminar or workshop on how to be a better leader, but really get that personalized, habit-based behavior change mechanism. Oftentimes using AI, using data, and so investing in those tools now is going to help you prepare for the future.
And I think one of the key things you indicated several times is data. As HR professionals, this is an area that we need to really start getting more engaged in the data piece. We can use that as ROI for our leaders to provide them, to give the guidance and the help with the decision making.
Yes, and so I think that's important when you're looking to invest in a platform or a leadership development tool. Ask that vendor what data do they have to show what's the impact this has had with other companies. Does it impact turnover, engagement, job satisfaction, and things like that? So the data is really important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you for joining us today, and hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, Pam McGee here at Greater Orlando SHRM for Evolution 2025. I have one of our fantastic speakers here, Cheryl Brown Merriweather. Today, her topic is Redefining Workplace Wellness, the business case for recovery-friendly workplace. Cheryl, how you doing?
Thank you, Pam, for allowing me to be here with you and GOSHRM. I'm so excited. The conference is going so well.
Yeah, we're so excited too. So I just want to take a few minutes of your time, asking you a couple of questions that we can share. So what is one actionable strategy or lesson from your session that HR professionals can implement immediately to evaluate their impact within their organization?
That's a great question, and thank you.
I tried, girl. Go ahead.
You're doing a great job. So, my topic is about creating a business case for introducing recovery-friendly workplace initiatives into a particular workplace. So in terms of actionable steps, well, the first step is they're going to come to my session. And the second one would be to just seek to learn more about this topic. It's not the normal topic that HR professionals engage in the workplace, and that's what we want to do. We want them to seek to understand more about behavioral health, substance misuse, addiction, recovery, and mental health, all under the umbrella of well-being. So the first step would be to open up the door for speakers and subject matter experts to come into the organization to share their knowledge with, first of all, the managers and the HR professionals, but then the entire workforce. There's so many tremendous stories of resilience and people overcoming adversity. And girlfriend, we live in a challenging time
Yes,
these
we do.
days.
Yes, we do.
People are under a little bit of stress, pressure, anxiety, and all of that. So the more that we can create safety and have conversations about this so people can ask questions without being afraid of being judged or labeled or things of that nature, that's an actionable first step that I think everyone can take.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key things is when you say recovery ready.
Yeah.
You know, that means we're not being reactive. We're taking the initiative to prepare our workforce and prepare our leaders. Fantastic. One more question.
Yes.
So how do you see the topic you presenting evolving around the next 2 to 3 years, and what should attendees start doing now to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, you know, that's another great question. And the next 2 to 3 years, almost unfortunately, seem like they're heading in the same direction that the last 2 or 3 years have gone. And what I'm talking about is increased pressure, increased stress, increased anxiety, disruption. The workplace is going through a lot of change, and unfortunately, we don't expect that to kind of go away anytime soon. So what we want people to do is learn new skills and move to create a different culture in the workplace around these issues. There's so many amazing people in the workplace who have personal knowledge or lived experience with mental health or substance use disorder, addiction recovery, if not personally. Maybe they've supported employees struggling with these issues. Maybe they have family members struggling with these issues. So in terms of actionable steps that they can take to move forward over the next 2 or 3 years because of these trends, recovery-ready workplaces, recovery-friendly workplaces are able to tap into those individuals who have this knowledge, this experience. They can come to support the HR practitioner by changing the culture. Again, proactively, that was a great word that you used, to just let's talk about it. Let's ask questions. Let's learn about something that we don't historically feel comfortable to talk about.
Absolutely.
But this new initiative will make that possible. Thank you for
Fantastic.
letting me talk about
No,
it.
I'm so happy you're here, Cheryl. And Cheryl's also Greater Orlando SHRM's first well-being director and the only one in the country. No other chapter has this position, but we here at SHRM in Orlando see the importance of this, and we wanted to make sure that we took full advantage to be able to provide our HR professionals what they need, guidance, support in this area. Thank you so much, Cheryl, and have a